Sonic Riders is a 2006 racing game for the Nintendo GameCube, and the first entry in the Sonic Riding a Hoverboard franchise. It was originally going to be scrapped in its entirety due to Sonic's rolling speed being greater than or equal to the speed of sound, but obviously that plan didn't quite pan out. Fortunately though, at least the first game in the franchise was good, and that was in large part due to the overwhelming skill floor, preventing noobs from overcrowding the massive Sonic Riders tournaments. Sonic Riders' skill floor was of course based on another game made by Sakurai, Super Smash Bros. Melee. This is referenced in-game as well, as Diddy Kong can be found as an unlockable character after completing every single mission in the mission mode. Something most fans don't notice during gameplay is the tiny bits of lore added into the Sonic series through small Easter eggs during races. One example is the inclusion of a new weapon used by Tails, a very large power cord. This is actually because Tails himself would later go on to reimagine his own identity, freeing himself from the coattails of Sonic, as his character arc in Sonic Adventure DX had set up for. This identity, due to his aptitude for robotics, was as a robot superhero, who would later become known as Chibi Robo. Tails isn't the only one who shows progress in Sonic Riders. Nuggets the Porcupine also shows one major difference, this being the size of his hands. This, while it may seem like it was simply an odd design choice, actually was a reference to Nugget's advancing age. In Sonic Riders, he is canonically in his last years of life, and this is shown in-game through his large hands, which are a result of his worsening acromegaly disease.
Oh, that hurt!
I can't make these kinds of impacts at my age!
Fortunately, it's revealed in Sonic Boom that Nuggets is still alive 3 years later, as the swelling transferred over to his upper body instead, resulting in his increased height and muscular gains. Sonic Riders has many portions that were inspired by other games, as mentioned previously. However, one piece that is often overlooked is the influence of Final Fantasy. The most obvious example of this is the course known as Eggman's Factory. If the player jumps off the ramp right before the finish line, they can see that the factory's design was heavily inspired by Midgar from Final Fantasy VII. It also is filled with robots, which, as someone who hasn't played Final Fantasy VII, I'm at least guessing it has a bod of them too. One part that surprised fans was the ending of the game, which features a large blue genie that fights the player. This was an obvious ripoff of Will Smith from Aladdin, in fact so much so that Will Smith himself filed a lawsuit against Nintendo because of it.
Well, looks like it can show us the world.
However, he foolishly agreed to drop the charges if they could beat his genie image in Sonic Riders, which is why the boss battle was made so incredibly easy, and why Nintendo is still making Sonic games to this day. Sonic Riders is the first Sonic game based entirely off of a cinematic masterpiece. The premise of hoverboarding was taken from Back to the Future Part 2, which coincidentally had its time-traveling elements taken from Sonic 06. However, this means that Back to the Future Part 2 was both the inspiration and the inspirer for Sonic games before and after its release. So it's been speculated that the producers of Back to the Future went back to the past so they could steal the idea of hoverboards ahead of time. But if my experience has taught me anything, it's that time paradoxes do bad stuff to the universe, so I'm not even gonna get involved in this one. Speaking of hoverboarding, the idea isn't as incredibly stupid for a Sonic game as you may think. The story is based around a tournament being held, where the only way to win is through using the hoverboards. This of course means the game's writing is light years ahead of any other Sonic game, and thus deserves a 10 out of 10. The developers even tried to appeal to edgy teens, which is why the game ends with Sonic the Hedgehog being blown up by his competitors and dying.
Sonic,
What?
we're your friends, right? You would never replace us with somebody else. You promise?
Not unless you did something lame or stupid or uncool.
Oh, okay. It's not like I
What?
feel like everything I do is lame and stupid and uncool, but it's fine. No, it's really fine. It's really cool and good that you're my friend. And anyway, I have
Okay.
to go, I guess.